Hi, my name's Andrea. I have been on over 15 different cruises with 7 different cruise lines, my most recent one being with MSC. I wanted to talk about it and give you my honest feedback as somebody who books and plans cruises for a living. If you haven't heard of MSC, they are mostly a European-based company. It stands for Mediterranean Shipping Company. They really only started marketing to the US within the past few years, so they're not very well known in the US. They are getting more and more well known, but they are mostly a European-based company, and that is something to keep in mind if you are planning a cruise with them, but more on that later. So I was recently on the MSC World America, which is their largest, newest ship. It is comparable to the Icon of the Seas. It has a lot of really cool features. So that was one of my pros, is it's a beautiful ship, a lot of fun things to do. I recently made a video of me going down the jaw drop slide on the MSC World America. It is an 11-story high dry slide that takes you from deck 19 on the ship to deck 8 in like less than 5 seconds. Like, it's so fast. They also have a cliffhanger swing off the side of the ship, so you can take in nice views of the ocean while swinging. That was really fun. That one is at an additional charge. They have plenty of pools, hot tubs, lots for kids and families to do, and a lot for couples to do as well. So really beautiful ship, no complaints there. I was there while I was on a travel conference, so I didn't get to enjoy the ship as much as normally I would if I was cruising, because I had a lot of meetings and other things to do, but I still did try to, explore and see what I could see. The thing I loved, I thought they did great with their shows and entertainment. They had a lot of fun things going on. They also had a speakeasy that if you know, you know, and you can get in with a special coin. You just have to know who to talk to. Another thing I really love about MSC is their private island, the MSC Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. Beautiful island. It's their own private island, so MSC's ships are the only ones that sail there. They are working to preserve coral, and they actually have a coral farm, so they are working to rehabilitate and reproduce coral, and I think that's really cool. So they have a nonprofit foundation that is going to that, and they basically repurposed and rebuilt this island, really made it beautiful, and really didn't hurt the natural environment around it while doing that. They tried to preserve the natural beauty and the natural environment, so I really loved MSC Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. The thing I like about MSC is when you compare them to, maybe similar cruise lines, like let's say Royal Caribbean, maybe Norwegian, even Carnival, they price usually really well. I mean, their older ships are gonna be on the lower end. The World America is a little bit higher, but really it's gonna price thousands under the Icon of the Seas, even though it is a similar size ship. It still has a lot of fun things to do. So it is a great budget-friendly cruise option if you want a little bit more of like an upscale feel. It did also have a lot of really great dining options on the MSC World America. There was an Italy restaurant, which is an additional charge, but it was really nice with fresh pasta. Yeah, a lot of really great additional cost restaurants, or there were the buffet and the main dining room, as well as burgers and pizza for lunch, which I thought was really nice as well. A walk-up option inside the ship on deck 8. And they had a beautiful promenade, kind of similar to, it seems like they took a lot of ideas from some of Royal Caribbean's newest ships and they incorporated it into their World America. They said there's a lot to do on this ship. I would think it is very family friendly, but also very couple friendly. So if you're traveling as a couple, I would recommend checking out one of their Aria class suites. And then also, there's a lot for families. There's a kids club. There were a lot of family events. I wasn't traveling with the family, so I didn't get a first-hand experience on that. It seemed like the families were having a lot of fun and having a good time. Overall, I really enjoyed my cruise. I maybe did get a slightly different experience than you might if you cruise with MSC, because as I said, I was on a travel conference, but the free time that I did have, I enjoyed, and there was a lot for me to do. Okay, let's get into a couple of the cons, because, gotta talk about them. It wasn't all perfect. With it being a European company, I do think there is a service difference between European service and Americanized service. I feel like the US and what we're used to as far as service standards, we are used to having things fast. We are used to everybody being smiley and very quick. When I visited different parts in Europe, I have noticed the service is a little different. It doesn't mean it's worse, it is just different. If you're accustomed to US service and maybe service on a Carnival or Royal Caribbean ship where they really go out of their way to impress you, really fast service is a little bit different from what I experienced on the MSC World America. I did feel that the service was a little bit slower, a little bit more reserved, and that's kind of how European service is. That's their standards. They think people want to take time with their meals. You want to sit and enjoy your family's company. You're not in a rush. Us Americans, we're very go, 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 give me this, I want it now so I can get back to the pool or, go do something else. We don't really take that much time for our meals as a standard as other countries might. So I did notice the service was a little bit slower and just not as in your face, for a lack of a better word, as maybe Carnival or Royal is. You always get to know somebody by name and they just really go out of their way to make you feel special. I didn't notice that as much on MSC, and again, it wasn't a huge deal for me, but if that's something you're used to and looking forward to on a cruise line, no, it's gonna be a little bit different. There was a slight language barrier sometimes, and was at lunch with somebody who ordered a prime rib, and we're used to having prime rib served with horseradish, all that stuff. So he asked for horseradish, and it took like maybe an additional 20 to 30 minutes for him to get that horseradish. So whereas, Carnival, if they're serving prime rib, they come around with the horseradish right away. Americans are more used to is that Carnival and Royal Caribbean service. So no, it might just be a little different. Another con I had, but it is kind of a big one, was the included food at the buffet and in the main dining room. Multiple occasions I had cold or undercooked food that if I would have ate it, I could have possibly gotten sick. At the buffet, I picked up a egg dish. It was like an over easy egg over some other things. It looked good, but as soon as I cut into the egg, the whites of the egg were really runny, and I don't mind a runny yolk, but I do think the whites should be cooked. That was just unappetizing to me, and I didn't eat that. There was another instance where I cut into a sausage, and the middle was pretty pink. The outside was very crispy, and the middle was very pink, so it just didn't seem safe to eat either. And then I did go to their taco spot, and tacos that I got were cold, and that is an additional charge restaurant. So I was pretty disappointed about that, paying extra for something and not really enjoying it that much. So I do love cruises for trying different kinds of food. The food that I did have that was cooked properly was really good in the main dining room and in the buffet, but it was just, I had to kind of be careful on what I was choosing and, kind of inspect everything before I ate it. That was my main complaint with MSC, and I have heard that, because this was my first MSC cruise, so I've heard from clients previously that they didn't love the food on board and it wasn't the best. So I did like the burger and pizza during the day. There were some great options at night as well. Food wasn't the best, and I've been on Carnival, Royal, Princess, Virgin, all which I liked the food more than on MSC, unfortunately. Everything taken into consideration, the price point it's at, the available activities on the ship, the actual just overall look and size of the ship that you can get for the price that it is still a great budget option, I think, for families or for couples. But if you aren't on a budget, then I may recommend something else, maybe more celebrity. I would recommend for couples, some Royal, and some Carnival as well. So it really depends on what you're looking for, and that is what I specialize in, is finding the right cruise line for the right people. So let's chat. If you're planning your next cruise, I'd be more than happy to help make sure you are making the right decision.